Hey everyone, this is the landmine I designed a while back. If you'd like a quick refresher on what exactly it does, well, it kills you. And I'd argue that it does this job pretty well, because I'm wearing just about the armor that your average player would be carrying at any given time. By the way, I do highly recommend you go check out my other video on this topic on my channel or in the info card, but here's a quick rundown anyways. The mine basically just pushes the end crystal up to the same level as the player, and then shoots it with a snowball in order to detonate it. Yet, despite this thing's baffling efficiency of just over half a second of activation time, I knew I'd be getting complaints. The big one that I knew I'd be getting though is that it just isn't lethal enough, because right now I'm not even carrying the full amount of armor that I could be accounting for, yet I can still survive the mine easily if I just simply skirt the edge of it. Thus, I set foot on my prototyping journey to design many more mines until I could figure out how to make a better one. Now, I'd love to start this journey of design off with some sort of incredible, ingenious solution to turn the perfect mine into something better, but really the only approach that ever mattered was just adding more bombs. Boy do I love Occam's razor. Jokes aside, there's obviously a lot more that goes into designing a mine that's much more powerful than the original one, while still keeping it fairly compact. And there might be a lot of questions you're asking, like how did I design this, or why the hell do I need 5 pieces of ancient debris to construct this thing? And also, isn't ancient debris blastproof? Why am I blastproofing something that I intend to blow up anyways? And to these questions, I say we will get there. So let's start from the beginning. The original end crystal landmine has only one explosive, the titular end crystal, and this is part of what makes it somewhat underpowered. Some people have suggested to simply just add more end crystals. But the reason this doesn't work is because end crystals, when there's another explosion nearby, they're just immediately deleted. Nothing actually chain reacts or anything. See, much more of this netherrack in the back would have gone away had these back 2 end crystals actually exploded, but unfortunately what's happening here is this end crystal is just deleting them without causing any subsequent explosions. This crystal deletion radius is very large, making it effectively impractical to use multiple end crystals in the same type of explosive. This leaves us with just about 2 more options for additional explosives, being TNT and TNT minecarts, and I'm just going to say off the bat that TNT is not great for what we're looking for. It has a lot of useful applications, but it's cumbersome, slow, and not nearly as efficient at dealing damage and having a 5 blast radius as TNT minecarts are. They're also comically easy to stack enormous amounts of them in the same location, which could come in handy later when we're looking to up our firepower a little bit. Eventually, after a little bit, I put together this design, and here we have double piston extenders using an iron trapdoor to force the TNT minecart up to the surface. Now I can show that right now. The end crystal serves a few purposes. Number 1, it acts as the initial damage source, but it also pushes away the TNT minecarts to increase the blast radius, as well as igniting them. This design though, being only the 3rd prototype, definitely has its flaws. First off, it doesn't have enough bombs. Second off, there's actually a very tiny but major problem that ends up occurring and necessitating another 5 designs as well as the use of ancient debris in the final configuration. So I've gone ahead and set up a nice little test rig, and I'm going to drop a nice little test subject to show what's happening here. So after that initial explosion, everything kind of seems to be going great. We blew up the creeper, detonated properly and quickly, and we seem to be seeing these TNT minecarts spreading out to catch any stragglers, which is what we intended. But in the next couple of moments, we're going to see a bit of a problem. So what happened there was the TNT minecart's movement was actually stifled, because we can see in this one, it actually hit this ledge. The ledge created by the initial end crystal crater actually creates a bit of a problematic situation for the TNT minecarts because they can't get the distance that they need in order to accurately reflect the kind of area of effect that we're going for. Now, it was this problem that led me to make the design decision to swap out the trapdoors with endstone slabs. I thought for a second that maybe their high blast resistance would prevent them from being immediately obliterated by the end crystal, and I'm just going to spoil that test for you right now. It totally didn't work. This was the step in which I realized that my desire to stay within the realm of rational thought was stifling my creativity. So this is the section where we brought in the ancient debris. It's also kind of the section where I noticed that there was a couple more empty slots in the design, so I doubled the amount of explosives in every single core and added 2 more double piston extenders for the TNT minecarts. This brings up our explosive count from 4 bombs to about 11. So now the big question is, did it actually solve the problem? Now, would I call that test a success? Honestly, yeah. The engine debris enabled the TNT minecarts to jump away and explode in a larger field, and I think part of the reason why I actually didn't take a whole lot of damage from the mine was because I kind of fell in a ditch that was created from a previous take. So, what does this actually say? Well, the mine actually works. The only thing is, it's actually really difficult to guarantee any sort of kill on any player using just a landmine that they have to run over. Unfortunately, no matter how fast I make it, it's still very much possible for them to not get enough damage to actually die. It's also important to mention that placement matters, because if you stick this mine in some place like a hallway where they're not going to be as spread out and running as fast, the effect of the TNT minecart scattering is basically going to fill the entire hallway and essentially guarantee a kill much more easily than this one can. In order to give a slightly better idea of how this could be applied, I've gone ahead and dug a tunnel into a real-world mountain here. You're going to want a real mountain to surround the mine's walls because, unfortunately, if you just have 1 block thick walls, the initial end crystal explosion is going to punch through the Minecraft equivalent of sheetrock and immediately make the surrounding walls useless. I've gone ahead and installed a mine directly under this surface, and this is about what it might look like. That's just about the second time that I forgot to turn off explosion no block damage. So I kind of made a mistake and accidentally blew up the next one that I was going to show, so this is a new cave and here's what it might look like. Anyways, as you can see, the explosion kind of remained contained within the general hallway, meaning that any player that was standing within maybe 10 blocks of the center of the explosion would probably end up dead. This goes to emphasize that where you're putting your mine is almost just as important as what mine you're using. So this is the end of the main demonstration, and I'm going to dedicate the next section of the video to kind of addressing some of the things that people have asked me, and also some of the more obscure design decisions I decided to undergo. But I'd also like to remind you to make sure to like and subscribe if you like the kind of content that I make, and check out my other stuff. Anyways, first things first, a bunch of people have told me, oh, why don't you just throw in some instant damage potions to increase the damage output of the design? And this is a perfectly reasonable point. I could have done that, but for this video I'd pretty much already fully designed this thing by the time I read those comments, and I generally wanted to just stick to explosives when I was designing this thing, and stay with the general theme of the design. Another point that you could make is, why don't you just load the hell to every single TNT core? And sure, this would vastly improve the amount of explosives going off, but there is a certain point where I kind of draw the line at how many explosives I'm willing to load into it, because although I'd like to put in as many as I can feasibly put in, there's a point where it becomes kind of silly. One last detail before we wrap things up, you may have noticed that I filmed this video at nighttime with torches around to light up everything that I'm talking about. And I made this decision because a couple people were complaining about the sun being in their eyes, and that's a pretty valid concern. It gets pretty annoying for me too, but I wanted to keep the shaders on to keep things looking pretty. So if you like me filming at nighttime more than you do at daytime, then make sure to tell me in the comments section, and I'll try to apply this strategy to more of my videos. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Once again, make sure to like and subscribe and check out my other content if you like the kind of stuff that I make, and I'll see you next time, whenever that is.